Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents Beyond the Realm. Let me put up my fair use disclaimer. I don't know what happened to it. It just popped off the screen. Hold on one moment, please. Okay. So that all being said, tonight I'm going to be discussing Route 66. Okay, it has a haunted history. Numerous people have said to have seen ghosts and apparitions there and things of that nature. So we're going to get into it in just a moment. Let me get my banners up. Everyone, please be sure to go ahead and like and share the video. Okay, also please be sure that you subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Okay, the video said, remember that movie Route 66 on the sci-fi and the highway came to life from the people that were murdered on that highway. I didn't see that, beloved. That's interesting. Okay, so hello, Melanated Brown, Davita, Terry, Cherokee Love, Don't Need a Man, Stop Telling Me I Do, Kenla, Marietta, okay, Brother Slide, Nathalie, and everyone else who's tuned in. So with that all being said, let's get into it, people. 10 creepy places and legends of Route 66. Route 66 is America's mother road. Established in 1926, the highway connected Chicago to Los Angeles and passed through 8 different states. Now, the 2-lane road represented freedom and the Great Migration West. Several small towns grew due to their proximity to Route 66. Now, although it was decommissioned in the 1980s, Route 66 still holds an allure for road trippers who want to relive the highway's heyday. And for every neolit roadside diner along the road, excuse me, there are at least 10 ghost stories of spirits of travelers past haunting America's main street. Now, if you like your road trips with a side of ghost hunting, here are 10 creepy stories and places centered around the haunted Route 66. The first story is about the Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona. Now, the Hotel Monte Vista opened in 1927 and hosted guests such as John Wayne, Bing Crosby, and Harry Truman. It was the Duke himself who is said to have made the hotel's earliest ghost sightings. The movie star reported seeing a friendly ghost in his hotel room during his stay. Now, guests who stay in the room, which is room 210, excuse me, the Zane Grey Room, they report getting a knock on the door from a phantom bellboy calling for room service. But when the guests open the door, there is no one there. Then there's the story of Merrimack Caverns in Staten, Missouri. Okay, so it says, this 4.6-mile cavern stems near Staten, Missouri. It was one of the primary tourist attractions along Route 66, and it's the most visited cave in Missouri. It's also famous for being the hideout of choice for the outlaw Jesse James. Visitors have reported seeing a mysterious man dressed in all black who is believed to be the spirit of the notorious bank robber. And if you haven't heard the stories of Frank and Jesse James, 2 brothers who were like known and they're notorious for being bank robbers back in the Western days, you might want to look into it. It's pretty interesting. Now, then you have the Belvedere Mansion in Claremore, Oklahoma. John M. Bayless began construction on the Victorian-style Belvedere Mansion in the early 1900s. He died before he could see it completed. Now, his family completed the home after his death and continued to live there until 1919. However, some say that their spirits were left. They never left there. Today, the mansion is on the National Register of Historic Places. Visitors at this haunted place have heard the toilets flush on their own and felt someone touch them while they were completely by themselves. Then you have the Oatman Hotel in Oatman, Arizona. The Oatman Hotel was built in 1902. It was originally called the Drulin Hotel and had a booming business providing rooms to area miners. Now, after the mines closed down, Route 66 travelers filled the rooms of the Oatman. Among those travelers were Clark Gable and Carol Lombard. And if you don't remember Clark Gable, that is the man who played Scarlett's husband in the movie Gone with the Wind, the one who told her, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. First time a curse word was ever used on TV. So the celebrity couple apparently loved their time at the Oatman Hotel, so much so they never checked out. For years after Cable and Lombard died, the hotel staff has reported hearing the couple laughing and whispering together with the room that was empty, or in the room that was empty. Now, next we have the Notorium in Amarillo, Texas, known as the Nat. The Natatorium was opened in 1922. It started as a nightclub and became a popular music venue, attracting artists such as Buddy Holly and Little Richard over the years. Now, the Nat closed as a public venue in the 60s, but continued to hold occasional events. However, the party never stopped. In the decades past, the night staff has witnessed ghostly couples still twirling around the dance floor and spotted a 1930s ghost with a wine stain on her dress walking through the venue. You know what that reminds me of? That story actually reminds me of the movie The Shining. Remember The Shining? They were in that big fancy hotel and there was all these ghosts, and then sometimes he would see these ghosts in the bar room or at the bar talking to the bartender, right? Yeah, so that's what that kind of reminds me of. I don't know if they got the idea, Stephen King that is, I don't know if he got the idea from that story. Now, Rialto Theater in South Pasadena, California. Back in 1924, the Rialto Theater is an icon of Route 66. Or I'm sorry, built back in 1924. The Rialto Theater is an icon of Route 66. It seated 1,200 people and hosted popular vaudeville acts and the trapeze acts in the 1930s. Now, in the 70s, the Rialto began screening independent movies and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. Over the years, the California Theater has been a hub of paranormal activity. The women's bathroom stalls are said to shake on their own, and the ghost of a man who went insane in the projector room has been seen wandering through the theater. And also the Inn at 835 in Springfield, Illinois. Now, this was built in the 1900s. The Inn at 835 was the brainchild of businesswoman Belle Miller. The inn first housed apartments for Springfield's elites. The apartments were later renovated into 7 guest rooms. The inn's caretaker, Belle Miller, is said to have still maintained her beloved property. Miller has been seen pattering around the inn, repairing ripped wallpaper and removing her favorite books from the shelves. Okay, let me check out the chat. Hey, Bungani. Melanated Brown says, reminds me of the Titanic. Yes, it certainly does now that you mention it, right? Oh, so crazy. Okay. And then we have Gilcrease Museum in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, the Gilcrease Museum holds an extensive collection of Native American artifacts. Clearly, they were looted, I'm sure. Now, the museum was a passion project of Thomas Gilcrease, who passed away in 1962. Museum visitors have spotted Gilcrease still wandering the grounds. The museum staff have heard numerous stories, and also have heard doors slamming on their own and seen ghostly children running around the historic site. I wouldn't be working there for long after seeing that. I really would love some news about my t-shirt. You should be getting it in the mail soon, beloveds. I think I mailed it off. I'm pretty sure that I did. Okay? I'll double check. I'll track it and when I finish this live. Okay, beloved? And I can't run, LOL, the F. Okay? So the ghost light of Joplin, Missouri. Now the Joplin ghost light, also called the Hornet lights, has been spotted since the 19th century and can be seen near the Missouri-Oklahoma border. The best place to see the eerie glow is on Oklahoma's East 50 Road. On a clear night, you can see a ball of light dancing on the horizon. Some say that the light is the result of atmospheric gases or headlights traveling on Route 66 across the interstates. But several area residents are convinced something supernatural is at work. In the 1960s and 70s, cars would park along East 50 to watch for a glimpse of the glowing orb. Route 666 outside Gallup, New Mexico. While not technically part of Route 66, the devilishly named Route 666 is in close proximity to the historic road. The supposedly satanic stretch of highway runs from Utah to New Mexico, where it meets the Mother Road outside of Gallup. It should come to no surprise that Route 666 is the site of some truly creepy, unexplained paranormal phenomena. Drivers have reported being chased by a pack of vicious rabid dogs running at a high rate of speed. There have also been several stories of a mysterious black sedan speeding down the highway. Now, when the vehicle seems to rapidly speed towards them, drivers pull over to avoid getting hit, and then seconds later, the phantom car seems to disappear without even a trace. Route 666 was renamed US 491 in 2003, but the creepiness still endures. So that's all crazy people, clearly. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about creepy stories and legends about Route 66. Now, spanning a massive 2,451 miles across the U.S., it's not surprising that dozens of creepy stories, urban legends also, have sprouted up along America's most legendary highway. Some are disgusting, and some are just plain creepy. Now, they say Route 66 is a long stretch of highway, meaning that you can't drive it all without making a few stops. But if you must, avoid the Hotel Monte Vista. And I told you all about that one. It actually says the scariest place might be in the basement, where reports of a baby crying over and over have been made quite a few times. And then they have Zombie Road, and they say it's full of ghosts from the past. Now, in Missouri, there's a stretch of road that officially is called Lawler Ford Road, but people around that area have just come to call it Zombie Road. The road was paved at some point, but now has become almost impossible to pass using an automobile. A lot of stories have come from Zombie Road, whether it be about ghosts or the ghost of a man that was hit by a train in the 1970s, or the mysterious old woman who screams at people from a house at the end of the road. But what built up Zombie Road the most was the death of Della Hamilton McCullough. That was back in 1876 when she was hit by a railroad car. Reports of phantom glows with bluish white light and a translucent figure wandering around have been said to be McCullough, still haunting the place where she died. Now, an empty stretch of highway boasts a flaming car. They say Route 666 is the sixth branch of Route 666, and its long stretch of road has been responsible for countless ghost stories and encounters. Now, the scariest might have come from Linda Dunning, who wrote about an incident with her husband. Apparently, the man was driving down Route 666 late at night, and in the distance, he saw a burning truck flying towards him with no signs of stopping. He pulled off quickly to the side of the road and then walked into the desert about 20 feet from his car in order to let the flaming truck pass. After it raced by him, he got back in his car and continued on like anybody with common sense would. And he didn't see anybody driving the car, and he didn't know why or how it caught on fire, but suddenly it was gone. Now, a murderous rampage brings a restless spirit. So at the Peace Church, or the Peace Church Cemetery in Joplin, Missouri, an unmarked grave, apart from everyone else, holds the remains of one of the most notorious spree killers from the 1950s. Billy Cook Jr. had a rough childhood, abused by the system. One day he snapped and went on a desperate run to Oklahoma City, killing 7 people along the way before getting arrested and executed. His body was then transported back to his hometown, but the cemetery only agreed to bury him if it was in an unmarked grave. Reports tell of strange lantern lights around his grave, and sometimes, if you're lucky enough, you might see Billy standing at the tree line with his eyes full of hate. I don't think I'd want to see that. Okay? It's always a good chance to honor your dead. In the Oak Hill Cemetery in Kansas, a state Route 66 passes through for only 13 miles, a man did not give his wife a proper funeral, burying her in the cheapest coffin possible and not spending anything for the service. Well, a few days after she was buried, the gravestone cracked. The widower replaced the gravestone, but it cracked again. He replaced it a few more times, and each time ending with a cracked gravestone. It forced the man to move away from the town. Now there was his first good idea, they say. And there's a picture of this cracked tombstone. In Miami, Oklahoma, was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1983. Once a thriving place for people to watch movies, now people can arrange tours of the restored old theater. But they might get a little more than they bargained for, because according to a legend, the theater was built on a mortuary, and underneath the main seating area is the crematorium. Visitors have reported extreme heat coming from that room, accompanied by unknown whistling sounds. Now, I wouldn't be going there to watch any types of movies. That sounds crazy. Now, a man dies watching his own execution be set up, and then he comes back to haunt the place. James Phillips was a prisoner in Guthrie, Oklahoma, when he died an unexpected death. He was sentenced to hanging, but the prison hadn't hanged someone in quite some time. So a whole scaffold had to be built. Unfortunately, it took some time, and Phillips could see it being built from his cell. Soon after, guards found him dead of heart failure, citing the stress of watching his own execution be put together. To this day, the guards say that they can still hear his footsteps and a face looking out of the window to where the scaffold was being built. Now in Denton, the old Alton, aka the Argyle Bridge, was built in 1884. Today, most locals refer to it as the Goatman's Bridge. As the legend goes to say, a horned man goat can sometimes be seen on or around the bridge, usually right before a disaster is reported. Now, the creature supposedly lives in the woods nearby, waiting for unsuspecting people to pounce upon and eat. So if you're traveling there, it might be best for you to avoid that bridge altogether. A murdered bride still awaits for her special day. Now, at the Catfish Plantation in Waxahachie, Texas. Multiple spirits are said to haunt the grounds. None more tragic than the ghost of Elizabeth Anderson. If the stories are true, it is said that in the early 1900s, a jealous ex-boyfriend burst into the house and killed Anderson on her wedding day. She was still wearing her white wedding dress. Now she can either be seen in the dining room or looking out a bay window in the front room where she was killed. The last Confederate soldier that refuses to die. Waxahachie just can't seem to catch a break. Further into the town is Becky Road, which according to legend, is where the last Confederate soldier of the Civil War was hanged. His name was Private John Henrick, and he was hanged from a tree. Years after his execution, people still talk about seeing a young man standing on the side of the road in a Confederate uniform, while some claim they can still see him hanging from the tree where he died. Hell's Gate welcomes Union soldiers. In Arlington, there's a local legend regarding... Sorry, people. Let me get back to my place. Okay, in Arlington, there's a local legend regarding River Legacy Park. It states how a group of Confederate soldiers used to capture Union soldiers and hang them on big trees looking toward a giant gate. Now, because of this ordeal, the gate soon became known as Hell's Gate, as it was usually the last thing the Union soldiers saw. It was rumored that over 100 soldiers were killed there, and their sobs and cries can still be heard, especially late at nights. A burned down orphanage still harbors lost souls. Now, in 1897, a massive fire broke out at Buckner Orphans at the home in Dallas. Being made almost entirely of wood, the building went up so quickly, taking the lives of 15 male orphans who were unlucky enough to be trapped inside. They were all buried in the cemetery behind the orphanage. But reports say that crying and wailing can still be heard unexpectedly, and also you can hear a burning smell that's unexplained. Phantom killer of Texarkana leaves behind dead bodies and ghosts. Not much can be said of the phantom killer of Texarkana because he was never caught. He showed up in a 4-month period in 1946 and earned his name by attacking only at night. By the time he was through, at least 7 people were killed, with maybe more never to be discovered. Although the phantom killer was never found or caught, a few of his victims can still be seen haunting the places where he left them dead. A headless Spanish soldier searches for the witches that killed him. Now, as this story goes, it was in the late 1600s. A Spanish soldier by the name of Juan Trevino met a beautiful girl whom he fell in love with even though she was already getting married to someone else. Desperate, Trevino turned to 2 witches and asked for a love potion to cast a spell. They sold him one for a high price, but the woman still ended up marrying someone else. Furious, Trevino then confronted the witches, wanting a refund of his money. A fight broke out when they said no. It ended with the 2 witches decapitating poor Trevino and burying him away from his head. Now this spirit wanders, apparently searching for the witches who killed him and also looking for his lost head. Wow, Queen, this all seems and sounds like a horror flick. I know, right? That's where he went wrong. Can't make nobody love you. Absolutely. That's a recipe for disaster. People have to have free will, and you cannot change that. The haunted hill makes Albuquerque residents steer clear. Now, in the Menal Boulevard neighborhood, everyone apparently knows that the hills in the distance are haunted. Maybe the hills have eyes, people. Now, taking a walk along the foothills at night can lead to encounters with strange lights and odd noises, including laughing and gunshots. There's also a cave in the hills from which people sometimes claim to see a bright light emanating. But when anyone has the courage to go check it out, it always vanishes. The truck driver and the nudist colony. Now, in Devore, California, at the Treehouse Fun Ranch, a truck driver frequented the nudist colony. He frequented there so often that he had his ashes delivered to the place once he died. Clearly, that sounds crazy. Now, his urn rested behind the counter for years, with everyone forgetting about them and ownership switching hands. Once the new owners renovated, they found the ashes and removed them. And as soon as they did that, well, ghostly events started happening, including a self-starting fire pit and severe electrical disturbances, almost burning the place down. So there you have it, people. Those are your creepy, scary stories. Many of them happened along Route 66 and Route 666. Okay? I would never, ever stay in a haunted place. Let alone live near a cemetery. Absolutely, Judah Queen, and I wouldn't either. Marilyn says he wasn't having it. He wanted to stay at his nudist colony. Terry said nude ghost. Freaks in life and even in death, no less, right? Oh my goodness, this is all so crazy. So I hope you all enjoyed the show. That's it for tonight. But tune back in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. when I'll be talking again about a paranormal event, okay? A story. All right? Thank you, Iyama, baby beloved. You have a great night also, okay? Dominique says, Lord, I'm done off the title alone. The truck driver ghost and the nudist colony. Absolutely. It's all so crazy, right? Let me tell you something. I've heard stories about Route 66 for years. I remember they had that song, You Get Your Kicks on Route 66. I don't think so, okay? Please. I will be quickly taking a detour. Jasmine said white sage burning. Absolutely, honey, okay? So good night, Bungani. So with that all being said, I wish you all love, peace, and prosperity. Enjoy the rest of this night. And I hope to see you all right back in the chat at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for your morning wake-up call. Please like and share the video. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Until next time, Royals, peace.